And my second question is, because public opinion affects public policy, and I wanted to ask, what are your plans to make the reparation conversation digestible to the average American voter?
Good question. I'm gonna let yeah, that is a very good question. He was asking about reparations, and I think if anybody is confused about it, go visit the Legacy Museum again. Anyway, there is a bill in the House called H.R. 40, and what that bill calls for is the study of the legacy of slavery, the legacy of racism, what is going on now, the impact that it's had on African Americans historically. So it is a bill that calls for the formation of a commission, period. I frankly wish we had a better word than reparations, because I think reparations has been ridiculed and minimized as black folks wanting a check. And that is not what the legislation calls for, but because Representative Sewell said, when we took over in January, when Democrats took over in January, the bill actually had a hearing. And that's the committee I sit on the judiciary. And so it needs to be voted out of the committee, and it needs to be voted out of the House. I think it's a very, very important issue. And, you know, I can't tell you better than anybody that grew up here knows that one of the saddest things about our nation is that we have never come to grips with race. We don't even admit the problems that are on full display in the Legacy Museum. We won't even acknowledge, and you have school districts now in several states, I certainly hope it's not happening here, I don't know, but who are actually trying to whitewash the history even further. You have people who are scholars talking about, well, you know, slavery existed everywhere, and you know, not everybody was mistreated, which is an incredible oxymoron. How can you say that you were a slave and you weren't mistreated? Didn't you say I was enslaved? So, you know, we, this year represents the 400th year since our arrival on this continent, and so within the Congressional Black Caucus, we've been acknowledging that. If you did a survey of people in the United States, the majority of folks, I would bet, have no idea that slavery lasted for 2 centuries, have no idea what happened the 100 years, you know, after slavery. You know, the old idea of lynchings, the number of people that were killed, terrorism is what it should be called. I will tell you, Congress, we even have had fights over that, over calling domestic terrorism what it is. The only time we want to call anything a terrorist act is if it is from a person of color, a person especially of Middle Eastern origin. If it is a white individual that goes and commits a terrorist act, then it's actually a problem with the mental health, a person with a mental health issue. It's not just naked terrorism. So until we come to grips with our history and acknowledge our history in this country, it's always something that is going to hold us back. So that is the entire point of the reparation legislation. Once again, it is not for a check. This is not about black people that want another welfare check, which is the way it is minimized. It is about, number one, documenting our history, coming to our history, looking at the impact of it, and then what we should do to rectify it.
Before I let Congressman Bass go, and frankly, I just want to go on record as saying, why not get a check? I mean, when the Japanese were interned, they got money. I'm just saying, but I know that. But I also know you and I are pragmatists, and so we gotta crawl before we run. And I know the first step is acknowledgement. You know, it's sort of like, you know, what are the 7 steps of whatever. So it's acknowledgement. But I wanted to ask you in closing, I just wanted to give a round of applause to my dear friend Karen Bass for coming all this way and for really